So we're now on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis, and we're talking about lemai. In other words, if the Brisa is addressing a scenario in which the Adon is giving the Eved his mizonos, is lemai love v'yochel, right? Why did the Eved have to borrow money in this Brisa in order to support himself if his Adon is supporting him? And the Gemara answers la dofa, that the Adon is giving him a very small, limited amount of mizonos. The Eved would like a little bit more. You know, he wants to buy a piece of fleishiks and not just eat parva the whole time, or he wants to get some cheese. And the Eved now who wants more mizonos, he's going to have to borrow money in order to support his more expensive tastes. So the Gemara asks the following question. If we're talking about an Eved who wants more, an increment of mizonos beyond the mida hechrechis, beyond that which is absolutely necessary, lemalei hegdesh, shouldn't the hegdesh say to the Eved ad hashta, until this point, before the Adon was magdish your maisi yadayim is sagi lach below adofa, till this point you were satisfied without any extra mizonos. You took the mizonos mitzumtzamim. V'hashta, now that he was magdish your maisi yadayim nami tizki lach below adofa. Well, why do all of a sudden you're gonna go out and demand a higher standard of living? You should be satisfied with the Hegdish has a right to say you should be satisfied with the limited mizonos. And the Gemara answers Hegdish gufei nichale. Hegdish has vested interest here to allow the Eved to get more than just the basic mitzumtzamim of mizonos, but rather get bereva. Ki hechi dil shabech avdei, in order that the Eved should be very healthy and he will work on a more superior quality level, and then Hegdish benefits from that. So now the Gemara goes back to explain Rav. How did Rav say, this Gemara's kasha, that an Eved borrows money for his mizonos, and then osa, and then he works, uporea, and he pays up his chov, kama kaddish le, every single pruta that he earns as a payment compensation for his work becomes hegdish. So he'll never be able to be poreah his chov. He can't be poreah chov with hegdish. It's not your money. And the Gemara answers with pachos mishava pruta. Rav's intention was that he, the Eved, is working and earning less than a pruta each moment, so to speak. And therefore, there's never chalos hegdesh, because hegdesh has to be chal on a pruta, not on a pachas mishava pruta. And now he'll be able to pay up the malva who lent him money. And then he could go out and work. And again, every time he works, he has to earn less than a shava pruta, so that hegdesh doesn't have a kinyan on it, and he can be mitzvah, he could amass all these little amounts of money and pay up his chov. So the Gemara now proves that Rav is talking about a case where the Adon is supporting the Eved. And that's why he could be magdish the maisi yadayim of his Eved. But if not, if he wasn't supporting the Eved, then he would not be able to be magdish the maisi yadayim. And it proves that Rav does not accept the possibility or the rights of an Adon to declare asay imi v'eni zoncha. And the Gemara says, Hochinam mistaber. This is logical that Rav, according to Rav, the Adon could be magdish the maisi yadayim, dafka because the Adon is malol mizonos li'evet, and he doesn't have the rights to say to the Eved, I say imi v'eni zoncha, which means that basically he doesn't he doesn't have a chiyuv mizonos, and he can't be magdish the maisi yadayim. Diyomer Rav magdish yidei avdo oso ha'eved osa v'yochel. If a person is magdish, the Adon is magdish the maisi yadayim of his Eved, then the Eved works and the compensation and the wages that he gets for working is monies that he has to use to buy his mizonos. De'ilo avda, because if he's not working, then he says here, "Ein mezamnim lo macholim im lo yavod v'yidog l'mizonos atzmo." Is man polachle? Who's going to work for him on his behalf and support him? So this din contradicts Rav's statement that Masechet Kedoshim. And the Eved has no other possibility other than borrowing money in order to be Poreis Chov. Again, assuming that he's earning pachos mishava pruta. Is iyamrit bishlema? I can make sense out of this. That which Rav said, that the Hegdish's chal is b'mayla, where the Adon is supporting the Eved, and therefore he can magdish his yadayim, Masechet yadayim. But if he would not be supporting his Eved, ein yochol, he cannot say to the Eved, "You work for me, I'm going to collect your Masechet yadayim, but I'm not going to support it." And he cannot be magdish the yadayim. Just 1 second. Eino yochol lomar. Again, if he wasn't supporting his Eved, then he cannot collect a Masechet yadayim, and therefore he cannot be magdish now. Oh, so this is the Bishleimer. Okay, this is all the Bishleimer. This is where it works out well. That according to Rav, he cannot say to him, "I'm not going to support you, and I'm just going to take your Masechet yadayim for myself." And what about the case where Rav says Hekdesh is not chal? That's in a normal scenario where the Eved is working and he's selling his Masechet yadayim on the open market in order to purchase mizonos. And b'she'eno mala, and the Adon is not giving mizonos to the Eved, because the Eved is using his own Masechet yadayim to purchase his mizonos, so he's not being supported by the Adon. Is Shaper, now I understand the case where Rav says that the Hekdesh is not chal. So we can reconcile what looks like a contradiction in the statements of Rav and say, no, there's no contradiction. Because when Rav says that he could be magdish the Masechet yadayim, so that's a case where the Adon is collecting the Masechet yadayim, and therefore he can be magdish them. But in a case where the Eved is using his own Masechet yadayim to support himself and pay for his mizonos, then the Adon could not be magdish the yadayim of the Eved. But if you're going to say ha, in other words, when Rav says the Hekdesh is chal, that's bi she'eno ma'ila. That's a case where the Adon is not supporting the Eved. And the Hekdesh is chal, even though the Adon is not supporting his Eved. Why? Because v'yochol, the Adon could say to the Eved, work for me, I own your Masechet yadayim, I'm not going to support you. So now he can be magdish the Masechet yadayim Eved, even though he's not supporting the Eved. So now we don't understand how Rav could say that the Eved, in a case where the Rav was Magdish the Maisi Yadayim, he works, he supports himself from Maisi Yadayim, because he has no one who's supporting him. He's not going to die, so he goes out and works and he supports himself. And the Ilo Avdo Man Polachle, right? If he doesn't go out and work, then how's he going to get support? So therefore, it's logical to permit Lavo Lemzonosov that he should sell his work on the open market in order to support himself. No one else is going to support him. And now you're telling me that Rav holds that the Adon has a right to say to the Eved, Asei mi v'eni zoncha. Go out and support yourself from tzedakah. Is man to boy nifleche. Meaning anyone who wants to be kind and compassionate will support the Eved, and the Eved has to go out and machzor al psachim to find someone who's going to give him his onos for tzedakah. Elav shmamina eino yochol. Rather, we go back to the Bishlema, and the reason why Rav allows the Eved to work and use the income for his mizonos is because no one else is there to support him. And Rav says, Eino Yochel, the Adon does not have rights to say to the Eved, I'm not going to support you, I'll just accept and receive your Maisi Yadayim. So therefore, in a case where the Adon is not supporting his Eved, he cannot be Magdish the Maisi Yadayim. So that Eved will go out and work on his own and use that work and those wages, that income, to support himself. And only in the case where the Adon is supporting the Eved, then he can be Magdish the Maisi Yadayim. So we see clearly that Rav holds that an Adon does not have rights to say to his Eved Avod, Avuri v'yeni zoncha. Okay, now, once the Gemara has proved and established that Rav holds that the Adon does not have rights to say, Asei mi v'yeni zoncha, so the Gemara now brings Rabbi Yochanan, who disagrees with Rav in regard to this din. And we're talking about Chovel, who's Chai v'chamesh dvarim, nezek tzari pusheves and boshes. So if a person is Chovel and Eved Knani, he has to pay exactly the 5 categories of Tashlumei Chavol as if he had been Chovel and Ben Chorin, and that's a Sugya Bava Kamadaf Pei Zayin. Okay, now the Chovel pays up Dmei Chavol for the Eved. Who gets that money? Toshma. The Omer of Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with Rav, and he holds that the Adon has right to say to the Eved, Asei mi v'eni zoncha. The Omer of Yochanan kotea yad avdo shalaver nosin shifto refosel l'ravo. That a person was chovel in an Eved, then he has to pay what's called Tmei Batola, because the Eved can't do malacha while he's ill, and he has to pay for the hospital fees. The also Eved nizam minat tzedakah, and the Adon does not have to support his Eved. Shma mino yochel Rav lomar leEved asei mi v'eni zoncha, and Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with Rav. And the Gemara says, "Hochamayas b'mayla lo mizonos." No, we don't have a proof here that Rabbi Yochanan allows the Adon to say asei mi v'eni zoncha. We're talking about a case where the Adon is in fact supporting the Eved, and therefore he receives the Tmei Batolos Mlo. So where I see Hachi Amai Nizam Minat Tzedakah, why does the Eved have to go out and panhandle in order to support himself? And the Gemara says La'adofa, because as a result of his illness, the Eved needs more mizonos to get back to his health. And the Adon is not chayev to support him that extra amount of money. So he's going to have to go out to tzedakah in order to collect that increment. So the Gemara asks, if this be the case, and Rabbi Yochanan, when he says that the Eved has to support himself from tzedakah, he's talking about the extra increment of mizonos because he's a chola. Is then, instead of saying nizon minat tzedakah, which sounds like the mizonos are needed for kedei chiyuso, it should have said misparnes miboile. Rabbi Yochanan should have said Eved misparnes minat tzedakah. Misparnes is a more generic, all-inclusive term that means kol tzrachav, which would include even mizonos yiserim, the extra mizonos that he needs as a chol. So as a result of this kasha, the Gemara now rescinds its position of dechia that Rabbi Yochanan holds that we're talking about a case where the Adon is actually supporting the Eved al-Alav, but rather Rabbi Yochanan holds that the Eved is receiving his mizonos, and he's only getting, I'm sorry, that even the basic mizonos, he's getting minat tzedakah. And why is he collecting the basic mizonos, the bottom barrel mizonos from tzedakah, shma mino sheyochol, that the Adon, according to Rabbi Yochanan, could say to the Eved, asei mi v'yedi zoncha. And that's why the Adon receives the Dmei Batloso, and nevertheless, the Eved is Nizom and Tzedakah Shmamino. So at the end of the day, we have now machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav, whether or not the Adon could say, Asei imi v'yedi zoncha. Omar Mar, we quoted Rabbi Yochanan earlier, no saying Shifto b'fosel Rav. Gemara says Shifto pshita. I don't need this chiddush as regard to the Mevatol of the Eved, that goes to the Adon, because the Maisi Yadayim go to the Adon. So who is going to collect this money if not the Adon? And the Gemara says, Refuah, so Itzrachle. Rabbi Yochanan wants to tell me the chiddush that the monies for his Refuah belong to the Adon. Why? Why do I need that chiddush? Refuah, so Didehi. I would have a havamina to say that the refuah belongs to the Eved. The boy, it's I tasuye be. I mean, it's his goof that was injured, and therefore he needs that money to bring himself back to his state of refuah. So why then does the Adon have a right to demand and pocket the Dmei refuah? So Gemara says the following: that the Dmei refuah, the Adon is not going to receive. The Eved is going to receive the Dmei refuah, and he's going to take the Dmei refuah and pay up all his hospital bills. Now, Rabbi Yochanan said that the Dmei refuah go to the Adon, lo tzricha di'amdu lechamshe yomi. They figured out that the refuah is going to take 5 days. If you give him the normal dosage, after 5 days, he will return to full health. But le'avdulei samach harifta. But they gave him a high dosage, higher than normal dosage of medication. V'tasi b'tlos yom, and he returned to full health in a 3-day period of time. So Rabbi Yochanan wants to mechadesh that extra money from 3 to 5 days accrues to the Adon. You might thought that, wait a minute, it's the Eved who suffers all the tsar, and the Torah is not going to give rights to the Adon to collect money for the Eved's tsar. But mashmalon, that's the chiddush of Rabbi Yochanan, that the Adon will be makabel this hefresh, and it's like other schus mamon that he has in the Eved, and he's zoch in those schus mamon. Now the Gemara goes back to Machlokas, Rabbi Meir, the Chacham, and the Mishnah, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Is it in fact a schus for the Eved to be Mishacher or not? Tanya, Omer Rabbi Lazar, Amarnu Lo Lemeir. We presented the following argument to Rabbi Meir: Lo schus li Eved sheyotzi midei mitachas yidei Rabba lecherus. why shouldn't the shliach become a shliach lekabbalah and apply the principle of sachar li'olam shel b'fanav? Amar lanu, Rabbi Meir responds, chovu lo. It's to the detriment of the eved to become meshukar. Why? Shimhaya eved kohen poslo min truma. If this eved is owned by a kohen, then it's a din of kinyan kaspo. He's allowed to eat truma, and now you're going to remove his state of abdus. He can no longer eat truma. And we responded to Rabbi Meir. That's not considered a hefsed for the eved. Although the adon doesn't have to support the eved. So the eved is not losing anything by virtue of his shikhr. And Rabbi Meir responded, "Ma ilu eved kohen shebarach, veishis kohen shemordal bailo, halochlim b'truma, zeh eino ochel." So Rabbi Meir argues the following: an eved of a kohen or a bas Yisrael who marries a kohen, and let's say they run away. So they're not under the rishus of the adon or under the baal who's a kohen. They still continue to eat truma wherever they are on the face of the globe. And this eved, after shichrur, can no longer eat truma. So you see, says Rabbi Meir, that the shichrur of the eved is a chov and not a zchus. Avol, now the chachamim respond to Rabbi Meir. We concede in part to your logic. Isha chovula, shekein posel min truma, umafsida min hamizonos. Yeah. In the case of an Isha, if she's married to a Kohen, her gerushin is a detriment because she can't eat truma, and she won't be able to collect mizonos even if she's an Eishes Yisrael. Okay, fine. But what does this have to do with get shikra? What was this dialogue back and forth? This is what Rabbi Meir said to the Chachamim. Heshavtuni ala mizonos matishiveni ala truma. You came up with the theory that the Adon is not obligated in mizonos, so therefore the Eved doesn't lose mizonos by his shikra. But what are you going to tell me about truma? And furthermore, says Rabbi Meir, v'chitemu, and if you'll say that the shikhr is not a chov, of course, truma, because if the Adon would like to zark like Gita, he would give an Eved a get against the will of the Eved, and he's meshachar the Eved, who pasale, and now the Eved can no longer eat mizonos. So you see that the zchiyah that gets shikhr on behalf of the Eved is going to cause him a chov, because there's no possibility of a hefsei truma without the zchiyah of the shliach and the get shikhr. Says Rav Meir, that's not a good argument, because the Eved could just run away and they'll never be able to deliver the get to the Eved. Shavik Levi, Arik v'Azali Alma. He's going to run out and go elsewhere. And the Gemara says on the top of Yud Gimel, Uma ilu Eved koin shebarach v'eshes koin shemordal bailo halo ochlim b'truma v'zeh eino ochel. If the Eved who's owned by a Kohen runs away from his master, and therefore the Adon could not effectuate a shikhr because he can't find the Yada Eved, and so too in the case of a woman who's married to a Kohen, and she runs away from her husband and he can't divorce her, and she continues to eat truma, and this Eved, if he'll become a shukrar, he's not allowed to eat truma. So therefore, the shikhr of the Eved is l'chovaso, and ein chovin le'ol b'shol b'fanav, and it was shapir kamal. So it seems that Rabbi Meir gave the right answer, and he defeated the Chachamim. That shikhr Eved is mafsid the truma. Omar Rava Hainu de Kamahadri Lebe Masnisim Ibnesha Hu Kinyono. Di Iboy Shokel Arba Zuzi Mi Yisrael Upasole Kol Hecha de Isa. Affecting moral Rabbi Meir Tenach Eved Cohen Eved Yisrael Ma'ikol Meimam Rav Shmuel Bar Rav Yitzchak Nesha Mafsido Shivcha Knanis Ad Rabba Rei Matiru B'Baschorin Avda Vefkera Nichole. Why? Because Zileu Shkicholeu Pritzole. And therefore, the Shikhr of an Eved is Lechovasa. Okay, thank you very much. And I'll wish you a great day.